Today I'm going to talk to you about why your high E string keeps breaking. There's a number of different reasons for why this can happen. However, first things first, I'm going to tell you what the most common reason is for me and what I usually find it is. And then I'm going to run through some of the other ones that people often complain about. So right away, I would say the number one reason why your high string keeps breaking is because there's changes in temperature and humidity in your room, whether it's in your apartment or in your house. So what happens when that goes down is that your guitar body is absorbing moisture and then it's actually expanding. And then when it expands, there's additional tension on the string, so it's actually going a bit sharp. And sometimes I've noticed that the string will even go sharp by like almost a semitone. So it'll be too sharp. There'll be so much tension on the string that it's not normally accustomed to. And then when I bend it too much for what the string is used to, and then it snaps. So that happens to me all the time. So the way to combat that is to essentially just tune your guitar before you play, assuming this is the issue. So that's the number one reason in my experience what happens to me. Now we're going to run through another 7 of them, just in case that isn't the reason why it's happening to you. The next reason is a burred fret. So this can happen through wear and tear. It could be a manufacturing issue. You can see the picture of the fret right here. From what I understand, your technique can also burr the fret over time. I've heard other people say that if you bend too much, like down toward the string with rusty strings, you can actually tarnish the frets a little bit and causing a little bit of a burr. So over time, the string will just naturally wear and tear at a rate that's a little too fast, and then eventually it snaps based on that burred fret. So to fix that, you can either do it yourself with superfine wool and lay tape across the fretboard to protect it, and then use this superfine wool to kind of fix it up a bit. Or you can just take it to a luthier, which I would recommend that. I would recommend taking it to a luthier just because they're going to do a proper job. They're going to do everything the way it should be, and you're going to minimize any potential issues because you don't want to replace your frets at the end of the day. The next one is a burred saddle. So it's similar to the fret, except in a different part of the guitar. You can actually have burrs in the saddle. So you can see that it's all aluminum or steel rather. And if you have a burred saddle, you can obviously see how that would snap the string, right? Because if there's a burr in here, it's going to wear down the string a little bit too much and it's going to snap far too quickly. So that's another one thing. You can either purchase a new saddle or you can also have a luthier take a look at that. The next reason is your strings are too light. They're simply too thin, and then they're more susceptible to breaking. Because think about it, they're thinner. Like think about a bass string. Like I don't know that much about bass guitar, but from what I understand, the strings are obviously way thicker, and because they're way thicker, the chance of you snapping those is probably pretty small. You would have to have some kind of an issue, like a hardcore burr somewhere on the instrument, or insane bending or something, or maybe the strings are just too old. So yeah, get thicker strings. I took a picture of these ones because these are the ones that I like to use, 10 to 52. I find that's a good gauge. Sometimes I even go up to 11 to 52. I just like thicker strings. I think they sound better. I think they last longer. I think I press pretty hard in the guitar, so I find that that's a good way to combat that. Another one is not stretching your strings after you string them up. So you can see in this image that I created for you here, you string the guitar up, right? And then you put your finger underneath the string, and then you pull up on it on various points of the fretboard. So you do that all over the string. You do it a bunch of times. Tighten it up again, bend the string a bunch and play it a little bit, bend it some more. It'll go out of tune. You tune it back up, and then you just keep doing this, and then you should have it stretched nice and good so that it's at least used to being stretched. Number 6, improperly wound strings. This is a huge one. I'm guilty of this all the time. Like I've been playing the guitar for probably 15 years and I still wind them up improperly sometimes. I'm not the most patient person in the world. So you can see here that this is improper. That's not how a string should be wound. And that's the way my PRS is right now. Now that'll be fine because that's the high E string, or excuse me, the low E string, so that's not going to snap. But that's not the way it should be. It should be wrapped underneath the string or above the string. Usually underneath actually. But it shouldn't be above and below like that. That's not right. This is actually more proper. You can see the way the strings are wrapped directly underneath. They're not layered over top of each other in like this jumbled up mess either. It's like this one has a very small chance of breaking. That is how it really should be. What's the next one? A bad batch of strings. I just had to include this. This is not that common. I mean, everyone always wants to blame the manufacturer and say, oh, it's an issue with the strings. It's an issue with the strings. I mean, probably not. It's probably an issue with something that you're doing. But however, it can be something that you run into. You could have a bad batch of something. You could have a bad batch of strings. But realistically, it's probably going to be something to do with your setup and how you wind it and so on and so forth. And the last one is an issue with the nut. Now, this is less common too, I think, in my personal opinion, because, I mean, usually a nut is made out of, what is it made out of again? Like plastic. It's usually made out of plastic. Sometimes it's bone. A nut can come in a variety of different materials. Some of them are even made out of ivory. Obviously, you know, there's ethical implications of that. But you know, I mean, a plastic nut is probably not going to break it. However, there could be some kind of an issue there where maybe it's broken a little bit and it's kind of got a sharp edge, and it could lead to that. So that's pretty much it for this article. And as I said, I don't think I mentioned it in this video, but it's mentioned in the article. But this is primarily due to bending. Like I find that I'm always snapping strings during bends, and it's almost always due to the fact that the string is simply too sharp. Like here in my apartment, the temperature, especially here in Canada, there's a pretty wild temperature fluctuations, and I imagine moisture fluctuations as well. And I notice a difference in my guitars. My instruments will go maybe a bit sharp whenever the moisture changes. So you just have to make sure that you tune it properly before you start really hammering on it, you know. But anyway, that's it for this article. Make sure to check out that's it for this video. Make sure you check out the article. It's going to be in the video description as well. And I'll see you guys in the next one. All right? Peace.